Wow, I'm bringing a story from the sky. Welcome to this channel. It's Alice Sinclair here to tell you another story with reflections. And as I always say, although I am not an English native speaker, I tell them in English to share them with people from around the world so that they can interact with others, giving their own reflections or sharing their experiences in our community on Facebook, Storytime Friends Community, or follow us on Instagram, storytime.friends. Today I'm going to tell you a story that I enjoy writing a lot, and the title is Discovering the Inner Power. The family was gathered together at Robert's house, a tiny and humble construction near the downtown of the city. Although the house was very old, Robert's father, who was a famous architect, helped him to renovate it. Robert married Susan, who was many years older than him, when she got pregnant, and Tom, Robert's father, who was in a good economical situation, bought this house for them to live in. Robert's parents always visited their granddaughter, Zoe, who was 3 years old. Zoe brought joy to their lives, and they loved spoiling her. Robert's mother was always buying clothes and toys for her. Robert was a short, chubby, red-cheeked young man. He was a dental student, but he left university when he got married. His father got him a job as a clerk in a hospital using his social contacts. When Robert married Susan because of the pregnancy and left university, he felt as if he was disappointing his family because his father was a famous architect and he was expected to become a very good professional as well. He had always been ashamed of his surname, Pastibucci, because when he was in high school, his classmates called him Paz. Susan worked as a nurse in the same hospital as him. Tom got the job for her. Robert used to tell his co-workers that he was about to get his degree as a dentist, which was not true, of course, and he described his house as if it was a palace in the center of the city. One day there was a bus strike, and he didn't have any other means of transport to get to his house. "Robert, can I give you a lift?" Paul offered him. Yeah, thank you," Robert said doubtfully, because he didn't want to accept so that Paul wouldn't see where he lived. Paul drove him home and saw that he lived in an old recycled house, far from a palace, as Robert had described it. "Hello, darling, how was your day? How did you manage to get home?" Susan asked him. "Oh, Paul gave me a lift," Robert said, realizing that Paul had discovered his lie. "Let's have dinner together. I have prepared chicken, potatoes, and an apple pie," Susan said, smiling at him. "Where's Zoe?" Robert asked. She fell asleep an hour ago," Susan answered. The next day, Robert left the house very early, and Susan stayed at home because it was her day off. Mrs. Harrison, her neighbor, knocked at her door insistently. "Good morning, Susan. Sorry to bother you, but as your husband told me that you are a doctor and I have a wound on my leg and I'm in pain, I thought that I could show it to you. Could you have a look at it, please?" the old lady asked. "I'm a nurse, not a doctor, but it'll be a pleasure to help you. Let's have a look at it," Susan said. She cleaned the wound and applied antibiotics to it. Oh, thank you very much. I feel relieved. Sorry, but I'm sure that your husband told me that you were a doctor. It must have been a confusion. If you need help, don't hesitate and call me. And remember to see a doctor to have your wound checked, Susan kindly told her. Oh, I'm so grateful, thank you. See you, the old lady said. The next day, Susan heard some people commenting at the hospital that Robert used to lie a lot about many things and that he tried to show off many times. She felt in her inner self that it was true. When she arrived home, she decided to talk to Robert about it. Robert, I've heard many comments at work about you. It said that you lie a lot. But that's not true, Robert said, nervously and blushing. And what about that I'm a doctor, as you told Mrs. Harrison, and that you are about to become a dentist, and that we live in a spectacular house? Susan rebuked him. I say that because nobody takes me into account at work. They feel that they are superior to me. I even have a hilarious surname. When I was in high school, my classmates called me Paz, Robert told her. Sweetheart, I love you just as you are. You should learn to accept and to love yourself. Be proud of your surname. If it reminds you of your classmates calling you Paz, think that you'll become a specialized dentist in infectious oral diseases. You'll become an expert. You can go on studying if you wish. You should apply for a scholarship. Yeah, but I have to work to support the house, Robert said, looking at the floor. We can manage. We'll have to make an effort, of course, but it's possible. You won't have to lie about our house because we'll have a beautiful one when you work as a dentist. I'm your wife, and I'm someone who believes in you. I can see your potential, the inner power to become what you want to be, Susan said, stroking his hair tenderly. A few years later, Robert became a dentist. He was a specialist in infectious oral diseases, and he bought a beautiful house to share with his family. Thanks to his wife, he discovered his inner power to achieve his dreams. This story remarks how important to accept and to love ourselves is. We must have a high self-esteem to fight for our dreams and to realize that we deserve a better life. Susan had faith in her husband, and that made him change his attitude in order to make his dreams come true. We must awaken and remember who we are, putting an end to the limiting programming that we received in the past. Our light must shine bright to do amazing things. We have to rediscover and reconnect with our inner power, which is just there, waiting for us to activate it and to take us to the summit of our potential. I hope that you enjoyed this story as much as I did telling it to you. If you want to find out about my upcoming videos, turn on the notifications and subscribe to the channel if you like what I write. Remember that you are welcome in our community on Facebook, Storytime Friends Community, or you can follow us on Instagram, storytime.friends. I'm so grateful to you, my dear audience, because you're my inspiration and the reason for me to go on creating new stories. I won't live without reminding you how important you are. Your life, your actions have a great impact on everything. We are a unity, and what each one does affects the rest. Day by day, you're writing your own story, and in it, you are the star.